Hello everyone, my name's Shelby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I rate my books. So if you aren't aware, I do have a Goodreads and on there I rate every book from 1 to 5 stars. I do have a little blurb in my bio where I talk about what each rating means for me. However, I think it's important to talk about that on my channel as I do mention my ratings here as well, so I think it's important for you to know a little bit more in detail about why I give a book a certain rating versus another. I think in terms of rating, it's very up to the person themselves because some people base it purely off of enjoyment, some people base it on the writing style, and there's a whole lot that goes into a rating. So I think it's important that everybody talks about their rating and why they do it the way they do it, if that makes any sense. So today I'm going to be talking about what each rating means for me in terms of my reading, and then also I'm going to show you some examples of books that I've given that rating so you can kind of see where my rating taste goes. So I'm going to be starting off with a 1 star and working my way to a 5 star. So with my 1 star, these are the books that I do not like at all. I feel like this is very normal across the board. Most people, if you give it a 1 star, you really don't like it. And so this will be either a book that I don't finish, a book that I found really boring, and a complete non-page turner. So I don't give out the 1 star rating very often. I'm a very optimistic person, so I try to be like, oh yeah, well that had this which I enjoyed, so I didn't hate it entirely. I've only actually given this rating once, and that was because I DNF'd one book, and that book is, Lord Jesus, please don't kill me, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Now I am rereading this month. I know this is a very popular book among the book community, but I got 70 pages in and I couldn't stand it. I think I just didn't give it a fair shot because I haven't met a single person that doesn't like this book. So I'm going to try it again, but this is the only book I have that I've given a 1 star rating. That probably will change. So please don't kill me. Stay tuned. My Goodreads is linked below, so I will be rereading it. So you'll be able to see what I think the second time around. But this is the only book I've ever given a 1 star rating. Next up on my rating scale is going to be a 2 star read, so that means that I didn't find this book completely miserable, however it was below average for me. 2 star reads are typically the books that really let me down, so either they have good characters but the plot just really sucked and I really liked the characters and that's what bumped it up from a 2 star and wanted me to keep reading, or maybe the ending sucked, but all in all I was just disappointed and I didn't love it. And these books will probably be getting unhauled someday as they're just not something I look at fondly on my shelves. An example of a 2 star read for me is The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson. The reason this book got a 2 star rating from me was that I really thought there was a lot that could have happened with the plot line that I could have loved. However, it was a little too insta-lovey for me, and there was just some stuff that went on in this book that I found a little weird and a little problematic. And I love books about grief because I love to be able to emotionally connect to a character. However, I just didn't love how this one was done, and I know this isn't very popular. I know a lot of people like this book, but I just got about halfway through it and I was like, do I really have to keep reading this? But I wanted to know where it was going and I was hoping I would like it. I do like some insta-love, however this one just didn't do it for me. This is the only book I have, I believe, that I've given a 2 star as well. Next up we have 3 stars, and these are the books that I just found very average. This is a very middle of the road rating, and I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It could have been better. These are ones that I will potentially unhaul or potentially pick back up. It depends on what happened when I was reading it and what the reason for the rating was. Some examples of books that I've given a 3 star rating to are You Are Here by Jennifer E. Smith and Illuminae. I think I'll talk about the most controversial one. I know so many people who like this book, and if you look at Goodreads, the rating is a 4.5 average or something. It's really high. I did not like this, and this was my first sci-fi read, and I attribute it to mostly that. I think this is a very personal rating. I do rate my books based on my enjoyment of it, and if I think that, sure, the plot line's cool, but I didn't enjoy reading it, I'm not going to automatically give it a higher rating, because if somebody has the same reading taste as me, I don't want them picking this up thinking, oh yeah, that was a 4 star read for her, when in reality it wasn't. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. I thought the design of this book was so cool. If you look at some of the pages, I mean, they're absolutely awesome. However, I just didn't like the storyline. I don't think it's my taste, and this is a very personal rating. I think the plotline was cool, but it just wasn't very appealing to me. And again, this was my first sci-fi read because I'm trying to expand my genres. I just don't think sci-fi is my thing. I would still recommend this to somebody who does like sci-fi and does like this kind of storyline, but I won't be picking this back up. This is getting unhauled. I just didn't love it. It just wasn't for me, and that's okay because there will be books on my 5-star rating that aren't for everybody either. So it just kind of depends on your taste, but I did give this one a 3.5 star. You Are Here by Jennifer E. Smith was a solid 3-star rating for me. I just think I don't like books about road trips. I thought this book had like so much potential going into it because I do like some of Jennifer E. Smith's other books, and so I was excited to pick this one up, but I didn't really get to know the characters all that well. I thought the story was just kind of like put together. And though it does flip perspectives, it's in the third person, and so you really can't tell whose perspective you're in sometimes, and it was just kind of weirdly written for me. I just didn't love this one, so that's why I gave this a 3-star rating. Now we're finally into the books I really enjoy, so we're going to talk about my 4-star ratings. 4-star ratings are books that I found to be nearly perfect. I really enjoyed these books. I will probably pick them back up someday, but there's something that's keeping me from giving it the full 5-star. A lot of the times this can be I didn't learn enough about a certain character, or I thought certain things could have been done differently to enjoy, or I loved the general plot line but maybe the ending just kind of let me down. That's kind of the thing, but overall, these are books that I would recommend to most people, and I really did enjoy these. Some examples of a 4-star read are The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon and Season Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I guess I'll talk about The Sun Is Also a Star first. So I really enjoyed this book. I read it on vacation, and there was just something that just like wasn't overwhelmingly amazing. I'm a very emotional reader, so this didn't like strike any emotion in me. The ending was kind of like, oh, that was good, I enjoyed that, and the storyline was cute, and I don't typically go for insta-love, but the insta-love in this was done very well, and I thought that seeing what effects their relationship or that person had on other people, if that makes any sense, was really well done in this. And I've read some of Nicola Yoon's other books and really enjoyed them, so this is just an example of a 4-star read for me. Overall, I would really recommend this book to everybody if you're into like cute summer contemporaries, and I might pick this up someday, but it is staying on my bookshelf. Next up, we have a very common opinion, which is Siege and Storm. I gave this one 4 stars because the first book in this trilogy was really amazing, and you could tell that this one was just kind of setting up the third book. So this one didn't have a whole lot going on in the plot, and though I loved the characters, I loved the beginning and I loved the ending, the middle was just really slow for me, and I didn't love that. So that's the reason I gave this one a 4-star rather than a 5-star. But overall, this trilogy has been one of my favorites. I don't typically pick up fantasy, and this one has gotten me back into fantasy, so I would recommend this trilogy to everybody. I just found this one to be a little bit more underwhelming than the other two. Let's get on to my 5-star ratings. 5-star ratings are some of my favorite books. They are books that I will recommend to literally anybody. I loved these books. These books made me sob. These books made me happy. These books made me just... I love all the characters in my 5-star rating. Both of the books I'm going to show you are by the same author. He's one of my favorites, and I would highly recommend both of these reads. So when I think of a 5-star reads, these are the books that I think of, so that's kind of why I've pulled these. However, I will list a couple more that I've given 5-star. So the first one is History Is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera, and What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. This one is my most recent 5-star rating. These two books made my heart melt. I was crying, I was sobbing, I was so emotional through both of these books, and I love them so much. So we'll talk about the synopsis of both of these books a little bit, just so you can kind of see where my 5-star ratings lie. But this book is about Griffin. His ex-boyfriend Theo died in a drowning accident. So Griffin and Theo moved apart from one another. Actually, Theo moved away. And so this book kind of takes place at the funeral, and he's going through all the grief that he's dealing with. And we do flip times in this book. So we go to the past, and then we see what effect the past has on the present. This book is so painful to read because you get really attached to these characters, and you fall in love with Theo, and you fall in love with Griffin, and it's just heartbreaking. I think my favorite thing about this was seeing the connection of what happened in the past versus how it's affecting Griffin. And I thought the title for this was really good because every single moment of his day, he's thinking about what happened in the past, and I thought History Is All You Left Me was amazing, because when you deal with grief, all you're left with of the person is the history of that person. I really recommend this to anybody. This book kind of like tore me apart, so if you're not a huge sad book fan, maybe you won't love this one as much as I do, but this is just my babies. Let's move right along and talk about What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. This book follows Arthur and Ben, and they have kind of a meet cute at the post office, and though they don't get each other's contact information, they are destined to get back together. Fate is telling them, the universe is telling them that it's meant to be. And so Arthur kind of goes on this pursuit to find Ben, but he doesn't know Ben's name, so he's really trying to figure out a way for them to reconnect. The characters in this book were so well done. I loved that we got to see both perspectives of the characters, and we got to see their friend group and learn more about the individual characters themselves rather than just the love story. I think that was my favorite part about this book, because we do see their love story and we get to see them fall in love and everything like that, but you also just get to know the character outside of the love story. I think a lot of the time when you're writing contemporaries or reading contemporaries, it's all about the love story and you just follow the love story. You don't learn anything else about these characters. But that was probably my favorite part about this book. My heart, I loved this. I cried so much, and my heart was just overwhelmed, and I really recommend this to anyone. I know this was published and it was like one of the most anticipated reads of last year, and I think most people really liked it. I just thought it was so well done. Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli are like an incredible duo, and I did write a full Goodreads review of both of these 5-star ratings, so if you do want to see those, my Goodreads is linked below. So like I said, I am going to mention a couple other books that maybe I don't have on me at the moment in this pile that I have given a 5-star rating. So a couple of those will be Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo and Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. I thought these were both really awesome fantasy reads. I really enjoyed them. I gave them both 5-star. They were both thrilling, compelling, interesting, captivating. My books are falling. And I just thought these books were really good. Another book I gave a 5-star rating was 5 Feet Apart. I thought this book was really well done. I did see the movie first, so I was comparing it to the movie, and I think the reason I gave it a 5-star rating was because it was so well done in comparison to the movie. Like, there was only one element that was left out, and it was such a minor element, so I thought they did such an amazing job with the movie, and since I already kind of knew these characters, I was able to connect with them again, and it was just kind of like one of those things where you just loved the characters already, and this book also hit really close to home with me, so I think there was a personal connection to that one, and that's why I really enjoyed it. Another book I gave a 5-star rating was Dear Martin by Nick Stone. I listened to this on audiobook as well as read the physical book, and this book was so thought-provoking, so compelling, so enjoyable, and it really connected with me on a deeper level because it addresses real-world issues, and it kind of helped me learn a little bit more, and I love going into a book and learning more after coming out of it. And though I do learn from it, I also found myself connecting to these characters, and I thought everything was so well done, and I really just enjoyed this book. This is one I would highly recommend to anyone. My mom is actually going to read it. Even if you're not into like summary contemporaries like I like, or fantasy reads that I like, I think most people would enjoy this book. It is hard-hitting, it is political, it is emotional, but it is something that needs to be talked about. It was good. I loved it. I was audibly gasping at some points while listening to the audiobook. I remember I was at the store and I just went like in the middle of the aisles. So this is one that I would recommend to most people, if not everybody. And one of my last 5-star ratings that I'm going to talk about is the Harry Potter series. I did actually rate Half-Blood Prince 4 stars. Looking back on it, it was probably like a 4.5 stars. But in comparison to the other books in the series, I didn't love it as much as the others. However, the series as a whole, total 5-star. It was my first fantasy read. I loved it. I had never read a fantasy before. I was 18 when I read this for the first time. I know most people read it when they were younger. And so even though it is a middle grade, I was able to still really enjoy it. And I think that's something to be said, because even though it is for younger audiences, like even me as an adult enjoyed it. So yeah, that's kind of the general idea of my 5-star ratings, and that's how I rate all of my books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. I do also have my Goodreads link down there, so if you want to see some more ratings that I've given, you can also check down there. Little disclosure, when I first started using Goodreads, I didn't write reviews for a lot of the books that I read. However, now I do write a lot of reviews, so you can check that little review blurb if you want to know why I gave it a certain rating, or if there's a certain one that I didn't leave a review for that you have kind of a question about. If I remember, I'll let you know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next one.